So welcome to the conference committee. I'm not sure what the previous status of this committee was. I think we've been having lots of conversations about committees and how they keep to running and how we communicate between committees previously today. And I think having a pack of stuff that the committee did previously might be quite useful as well in reference to trying to pick up the bits and pieces on this conference committee, because I'm certainly sort of making it up as I go along as you'll work out. But welcome, it's good to see you all, and I'll get stuck in. First of all, has anyone got any issues they want to raise at the end? Oh, we'll get to that. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So, first of all, conference updates. And of course, we're in an unusual situation again, because this year we've been fully virtual. It's been an interesting experience because, like, well, I didn't expect, as somebody who's organised one of these conferences physically before, and I know many people here have had that experience. It's a lot of work, it's a big challenge, and I didn't really expect to be in a coordinating role again, even though I have been doing most of the work of being a sort of local organising committee role. So it's been a really interesting experience, and I'd say a very positive experience, because it's given me the opportunity to get to know a lot of people I weren't that familiar with, and it's been a fantastic team. I think it's also fair to say that working with AIC has taken a little bit of getting used to, because we haven't had that much control over a lot of decisions with the conference, because we've been piggybacking on the back of them. But as we've gone into this, they've certainly been really more and more supportive, and certainly they've been very supportive of offering attendance fees, free attendance to numerous people. The travel grants are covered in the end. And we've already discussed about using those monies or holding on to those monies so that we can support Edinburgh more fully next year with more further travel grants as well. So what's also interesting about it, I think, is the prolonged status of this going on for 8 weeks. It's going to be interesting to see how that works on. But as we've come together, working group, the advantage of Zoom has been quite remarkable, because certainly since Christmas, we've been meeting every Monday evening for me, quite late. We've had Shelley in Australia, we've had the rest of the team across the States, and like clockwork, we'll have 12 to 20 people joining us on those meetings. And I just think it's been quite remarkable, the enthusiasm, the drive, in putting this together and working with the AIC. And I think Ruth Surveyor has been pretty impressed with some of our random ideas as well. So I think that's it for me. We'll have a good debrief, I think, at the end of it. And I think for this conference committee, there's a few things on this agenda that will come up about how we make it more effective, how it meets more regularly, how it can become more supportive to the conference as a whole. So we'll work through it. So the next update, I'd like to take over to Edinburgh and
Sorry, Jules, if you're facing away from the camera, it's really muffled and we're not hearing you completely. So just let you know.
Okay, thanks for that. I've got 2 laptops here, so I should use the other one for the Zoom link, actually, because it's got a better mic to it. So can I put us over to Edinburgh 2022?
Yay! Try again, yes. So we had to completely rejig everything we had planned for last year, and we are aiming to try and do a hybrid conference. But that said, we want to get as many feet actually on the ground, because a lot of what we had booked last time round, we've had to sort of rebook to avoid losing money and things like that. So we're kind of desperate for people and actual footfall, which is why we have made the virtual side of things quite limited in what people can actually attend. So the virtual attendees will be able to attend the symposia and actually present in the symposia, ask questions and that kind of stuff. But the meetings and workshops and things like that will be purely physical, because we're so desperate for people on the ground. Trying to work out the money side of things is really complicated when you don't know proportions or anything like that. It is quite hard. Is there anything else you want to ask about it? I don't know quite whether you need me to cover more.
No, because we'll have a presentation at the APM, won't we? So we've got stuff and that update. It's just a chance for you to, I don't know, feedback to this group, or for people to ask questions about how they can support, or how it's going, really.
Yeah, I think we're here more for you. If you've got questions or anything we can help with, let us know.
Thank you. I will, absolutely. It's just really hard not knowing what the numbers are going to be like. And I have to say, I'm quite worried about next year, because I mean, we keep thinking we're going to be sorted by, you know, 1 month down the road, or 2 months, or 3 months down the road, and when we're still not kind of clear, are we? So I'm crossing all my fingers and toes, and I'm so desperate to see people. I don't want to do the Zoom thing again. I really don't.
I agree. I think we're all desperate to see people, and I'm certainly desperate to join some of these reprobates around you around a bar again and talk rubbish again. I miss that.
What are the dates for the Edinburgh conference?
It is the 4th to the 10th, I think, is off the top of my head. I don't have it written down here, but it definitely starts on the 4th, so of June, May. Now you've got me stuck here. I have to go and have a think about that. I've got it written down.
It's June.
June, thank you.
4 to 10, according to your website.
Yep, that'll be the one.
4th to 11th, I have in my calendar.
Yep. Well, we're not entirely sure about the
10 maybe.
how long it's going to be, but I mean, it'll certainly be encompassed in those dates.
Well, if it's any consolation, when we were planning the Chicago meeting, it was right up until the last minute before we got enough folks registered in the hotel room where we knew we were going to get that for free without suffering penalties. And I think we made it by one room. So it was a real nail biter. And that would have been kind of disastrous had we not sold that extra room. I mean, I probably would have paid for it out of my own pocket if I had to, just to save the penalties, but it was very close. So I know how that is. And with having the pandemic and everything, it's got to be just horrible.
Fortunately for us, the hotels aren't really a problem, because it's booked through somebody else who makes money from it, and it's not for us to try and get to a certain number, thank goodness. I would have been just, I don't know, sweating buckets, I think.
So what's your biggest concern then? It's just attendance?
It's making the budget work through the attendance and sponsorship, and I guess we don't really know, having not actually done a hybrid conference, how it's going to work. It's kind of sort of a bit like walking in the dark, and it does cost money to pull off a hybrid conference, because you need to be paying for all of the like the filming and all that kind of stuff, as well as doing the on the ground things. It's just a very unknown experience for us, I think. I mean, fortunately, we have a conference organizer who will have done a few hybrid conferences by the time ours comes, and so they are a bit further ahead than we are in terms of knowing what's possible and what's good.
And you'll be charging a smaller fee for the folks doing the virtual part of it?
Definitely. I mean, we want to get more people attending anyway. And I think it would be terrible to charge them so much that they couldn't come. You know, that's not the point. But also we also understand that with carbon footprints and things like this, that, you know, it's not necessarily just about the money either. Some people just don't want to fly, but we don't want to make it too expensive for people to virtually attend. But we've got to balance the books.
So would all the virtual components would they be live, or would they be like recorded and kind of played sometime later, a combination of the two?
Well, they'll definitely be live. I'm
sorry, maybe I should clarify, because maybe I don't quite understand. So are you recording people who are at the, like, if I'm physically there and I'm giving a talk, are you recording my talk and playing that live?
Yes.
Okay, versus if I'm like, I can't go to Edinburgh, but I still want to give a talk. That's not in that same grouping.
I think there's actually going to be quite a choice of what you can do. I would prefer it to be live, because I actually prefer, well, I think my own opinion is that the interaction is so much better when it's live than when it's a recorded presentation. But I think there will be the option for people who can't attend a particular presentation to be then able to watch it at a later date or a later time. Don't quote me on that, but that is my understanding of how it'll work. But yes, on the whole, it will be presented live. But I think there will be options to pre-record if you needed to.
And you said that all of the symposiums would be available, but like the thing, like all the extra stuff, like tours and workshops, like anything that would be an additional cost, it's kind of sounds like out of my pocket anyway. Right. Like if I was physically there, I would have to pay more money to go to the workshop anyway.
If you wanted to attend a particular workshop, you would be paying for that particular workshop. I mean, I see what you're getting at, and I will feed back to the committee what you're
And I'm
saying.
actually like, I am not trying to discourage this at all.
No,
I think
no,
this
no.
is great,
it's good.
But it's like, so I come from, you know, the flip side, like I kind of have a privilege problem where I am from a large institution that has, you know, money to send, and I definitely want a hybrid conference. But me and my other colleagues have been thinking and talking. It's like, all right, but how, like, how are we going to justify moving forward that we still want to go to physical conferences, and there's a benefit for us to go to a physical conference if the Smithsonian decides, but we can just pay a smaller fee and you still get all the perks of being at the conference. So I'm not saying that is a problem. They haven't said that. This is just things that go through my head when I'm like thinking this through.
No,
So
it's
would
a very valuable point, I think.
So would workshops be available virtually? Or is that only a hands-on?
That is not the plan. I mean, I guess the problem we would have with not charging for workshops is that some obviously cost more to put on than others. Last time round, we had sort of evened it out across the board so that people were more or less paying the same thing for the workshops. But I will take on board what you're saying, Amanda, and just talk to the organisers about how we work that. It might be that what we can do is we can get sponsors perhaps to pay for the cost of the workshops, so that the attendees don't necessarily have to cover that cost.
One thing that's come up in other meetings is the practice of charging workshop presenters to attend their own workshop. Is that something that you've been addressing in your local organizing committee?
We had planned last time round to not to charge attendees, but not to charge the people putting on the workshop, but we did have to put a limit on the number of people. There was one workshop that was going to be put on where I think there might have been space for 10 people, but 4 of those might have been the people putting on the workshop. And the numbers didn't work. So we had to say, look, we can have maybe 2 people coming in for free. We couldn't make the numbers just work out for that sort of ratio of presenters to people learning or benefiting from that workshop.
How are you doing with sponsorships?
We have a few that have carried over from 2020, but we haven't actually put an awful lot of effort in yet. We kind of felt we needed this year's out the way, or at least start talking to them now. But we didn't want to go ahead of ahead of this year to then approach people.
Yeah, definitely talk to Ruth. I think she'll be able to send you a list of the sponsors and some contacts.
Sorry, Ruth.
Ruth Saylor, she's a conference for AIC. She's a conference manager, I guess, organizer.
We'll put you in contact at the end. Thank you.
Fabulous. That would be really appreciated. Thank you. I have also approached BHL because I figure they might also have some sponsors that wouldn't necessarily be automatically associated with Spinach and NATSCA.
Okay, Mo was wanting to, I think Mo had something to say, and Laurie's got a hand up as well. So we start with Mo.
Yeah, I was wondering, since we've been meeting regularly in preparation for this year's meeting, if that's something, and maybe this will come up when we talk about how to plan meetings in the future, but having a monthly Zoom meeting with people here in this room right now might be really helpful to you as a local organizing committee. I mean, just having Tiffany around for all the membership stuff, and everybody's been really helpful through this AIC meeting this year. And I could see when it comes to 2023, we're going to need to reach out more to the conference committee to have folks more involved. And I didn't know if that's something you wanted to start after this meeting's done, you know, having monthly meetings to bring us all in to get perspective on things or to help with things.
It would certainly be quite a nice way of doing it. I mean, I know for 2020 we had an awful lot of emails that went backwards and forwards, but actually it would probably be easier to have everybody in, you know, one place at one time to cover some of the questions that come up.
I think that would be quite valuable to you, actually, because, you know, a lot's been gained over the last couple of years with the
You renew your warranty before we close the file. If you're interested.
Yeah, I think it's been really useful. And I think given what you guys have been through with, you know, having to delay a conference and the work you've gone through, I think any way we can support you will be very important. So that's something we, you know, would really look at. So it sounds like to me it'd be worth getting this meeting quite regularly, just to even have some people to chat to, because you've got quite a lot of conference organisers around this table, and it's been working very well from us from the regular meeting point of view, catching up, discussing things, solving problems and getting things done. But on the other hand, it might be too much for you. You might think, no, leave us to it. You don't need you. Go away. It's up to you. Let us know.
It's a complicated one because we've kind of gone through so much of the process already that there's kind of stuff in place, but having to rejig things. I'm sure it'll be helpful to talking to everybody, and it's always good to have different ideas and thoughts. You know, you can write something down and then look at it, and you could not see anything wrong with it until somebody else looks at it. So it's grand to have other people there to sort of look at it too.
And when you've got direct links like Tiffany and Co here, it really helps with just getting the emails out and all the links that you want. And again, Andy's not here tonight, but you know, he's got links with vendors and things like that. So the American vendors, it might be like you're doing a hybrid conference. We can bring some of these vendors in virtually and support you in that sort of sense. So I think there's probably a lot of things that could come together a bit more and support, you know, the income stream to make this work.
I certainly hadn't thought about bringing in more of the American vendors because of the hybrid nature, but that's really good. Thank you. Yeah.
Jules, we've got two hands up, Laurie Benson and Tilly.
Oh. Yes, Laurie, sorry.
Oh, I'll turn my camera on for a little bit. I'm just having streaming issues, let's put it that way. I was thinking about what Amanda said, and I don't mean to interrupt this group, but I think that we should come up with some way of explaining to the people that are in charge, giving us the money to go to conferences, that there is a benefit of actually being there. I think there are spinach meetings that I got more out of talking to people on the way to talks than I did out of that talk. And I don't know how to put that in a more, Tim was probably got a better way of doing that for the powers that be, but just to be able to explain that it is important to be there when you can, that there is a benefit beyond just listening to the talks.
I so agree with you. I was so agree with you. And I am not very good at putting that across to the powers that be either, but it would be really nice if there was, I don't know, almost a paragraph or a resource or something that we could go to and say, you know, this is the proof that it works, or, you know, that is so valuable.
Well, that sounds like an action for this group, to be honest. Something to
You know, I mean, maybe you need to ask for, 4 or 5 testimonials from people. You know, we have travel grant programs that have helped basically launch people's careers, right? So, I mean, I've always thought the best thing, that Spinach offers is its annual meeting, because it's, it's all about making connections with people. And when you get that crazy, problem that pops up, you can, email Greg Watkins Caldwell, one of my friends from Yale, and bounce ideas, because you remember some talk he gave, or, some conversation you had with him at the banquet or whatever, So honestly, I would try to, reach back to our travel grantees, some old farts like me or Paul, if you want, and ask for, testimonials. I mean, it's all about advocacy and just promoting, our product, which, look at the screen, this is our product, right? How was that, Lori? Was that pretty good?
That was really good, Tim. Thanks.
You've got a job, mate.
We had a couple people.
That's why he makes the big bucks.
Yeah.
At the EMP committee meeting 2 days ago, say attending a Spinach conference is what really launched them into their career. So you are totally correct, Tim.
Talia's got her hand up. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say, circling back on having a monthly meeting on Zoom with the local organizing committee. One of the things the IDEA committee has been wondering is how we can engage with the local organizing committee for things like code of conduct, reporting, safe meeting space, and that sort of thing. And so we know that some local organizing committees will have that already, like if they're maybe with a university and some of that stuff is already in place, but some might not. And so I think we just want to let the local organizing committees know for those of you for upcoming meetings, that the IDEA committee is there to help or engage with you guys on any of that stuff if it's needed. So
it would be really handy then to have a list of things that the Ideas Committee think we should be thinking about, just in case we haven't. Just that would be useful.
Sure. We've just started looking at what some other conferences have been doing. The one that comes to mind most recently is the Evolution meeting, has a whole website called Safe Evolution for their meeting, and it has things about code of conduct, how to report incidents, and it explains the process of how all that happens for their annual meeting. So we're like just at the very beginning stages of this, because the committee is fairly new. But yeah, if I would also say that, if somebody from your group wanted to like have a specific meeting about that sort of thing with the IDEA committee, we can do that now on Zoom. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, we can organize that for sure. And I'm not the committee chair. Anna Monfils and Vanessa Del Navas are the chairs of that. But I think, I don't know, there's a few of us here that are on that committee. But
I think that would be useful, and I will go and talk to the LOC about who would be representing us for it. But I think it would be a really good plan. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments, thoughts to Edinburgh?
I don't know if it's really now is the time or not. You can tell me off if it's not. I was aware that when the conference was in New Zealand, I know that the Chicago LOC were charged for having a marketing table in New Zealand. And Teresa and I agreed that this was an absolutely terrible thing and shouldn't actually happen. I actually think this should be written into the notes about you know, the future conferences and stuff, that one conference really can't charge the next one for.
Right.
It's absolutely
Quite right.
terrible.
No, that's terrible. I can't believe that. Why would we even have to write that into your notes? You wouldn't charge your next conference, surely.
Well, we decided we were going to just keep going with that, but I think it should be written down.
Yeah.
Sure, but that's the problem of, you know, the local organizing committees taking on all of the financial burden for the meeting.
Yeah.
You know, they're part of their job is to sell tables.
Yeah, but for supporting the next conference.
No, I don't think we should do it. But I mean, that's just the background reality, right? Is the society does not own these meetings. The local organizing committee owns these meetings, and you know that's real. You know, I think as Paul says, right? You know, any of us that has hosted a meeting, you know, we've sweated bricks at different times.
Yeah.
So, you know, are you going to make the numbers? So, but I don't think we should charge. You know, if we want future participation, right? You know, I don't think we should be charging for that. But
did we charge Scotland for a table in Chicago?
No, Teresa. Teresa told me about the whole New Zealand thing, and I just said, she said, we're not going to charge you, and I said that's grand, and we will not charge the next lot. So you know, we're just pushing that forward. It just seems silly to charge the next conference.
That brings up a good point, though. When was the last time that we looked at the documentation that's handed over to the local organizing committee with instructions and tips and guidelines? Do we need to maybe take a look at that and update it?
I think it was 2015.
Didn't you at least beat that up?
Yeah, and then Kelly too, after the Denver meeting, added a lot to it. That was 2017.
I don't want to be charged for the spinach booth either.
No, no.
But I don't know if that's in the document for the you know, the spinach document for conferences, that we usually have a spinach booth advertising spinach and what goes on in spinach, but also now we've got some MOUs that might also include free conference exhibit for our affiliated organizations as well. And I don't think we've sort of asked people if they want to take up that opportunity or not. I know I do have it with which one is it? Can't remember what thing it is, but I know there's at least one MOU we've got that has reciprocal free exhibiting.
Yes,
okay.
that could be a problem if somebody just comes up to the LOC and we have no idea about it, and we've only got X number of tables and we need to sell Y number of tables. Unless this is something that maybe Spinach themselves support, is actually the number of tables that are given away.
This came up in the Biodiversity Crisis Response Committee as well, because they were interested. Somebody specifically asked about this because they were wanting to take the spinach booth or do some kind of reciprocal agreement for registration for conferences with more sort of conservation type meetings that we hadn't normally engaged in before. So I'll just put that out there. And it's on the agenda for council, I think for council meeting as well, to talk about MOUs with other societies. So.
Okay. It's 9:30 with me. It's 9:30. I've forgotten what time this committee is meant to be at. So if there's anything else, we've got a few other things on the agenda, so we'll run out of time pretty quickly. So I'm going to move us on to, if you don't mind, move us on to the California Academy in 2023. Who's going for that then, Mo, Laura?
We didn't talk about it, but well, we've been working to help with this meeting. So as far as our meeting goes, we don't have anything pressing for 2023 yet. We also, financially, it's going to be a challenge. We did lose a substantial sum of money that we will not get back unless we make a profit on the meeting, which probably won't happen. So when we made that change,
there was a substantial sum that we won't get back, period, that we basically had to buy ourselves out of the contract. Sorry.
Good grief.
But we'll be starting to work on things, I'm sure, as the fall starts up. And we will definitely be having monthly meetings with the conference committee, because I think that has been a huge help this year. And, you know, you guys are all good at social media and all the things that we may not be that great at. So we'll be calling on everybody for help with that.
Did the Cal Academy get a loan?
No, not that I know of. It was just a loss.
Cindy, do you mean from Spinach?
From Spinach, right.
No.
We were told we couldn't get it yet.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think it goes without saying again, like Edinburgh, I think the role of this committee is definitely to try and support these conferences as fully as we can, and to make the task as easy as possible, because it is a hell of a lot of work, and the commitment, the risks are just getting bigger and bigger. Any questions or comments to San Francisco?
Yeah, what are the dates for San Francisco?
We should have been prepared for that one.
To June 2nd. I got it, May 28th to June 2nd, 2023. And we do have, it's at the Hilton Union Square, and we do have a certain number of rooms that we will need to fill. So we haven't talked about a hybrid, but in order to allow more people from places where they can't afford to come to San Francisco to participate, we do want that to be part of our conference, but we also have that room number to fill. The good thing about the new contract is we were able to reduce the number of rooms a little bit from the original contract. So hopefully we'll still be able to fill the rooms.
Do you know if that's Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, it is. That was the only way we could get the rate we got.
That's what we have.
You did Memorial Day weekend too. You started that. But we do have the hotel before and after that week. So people can come, you can get the cheaper rate for Memorial Day weekend too.
And be careful, because there's a lot of stuff closed that you might normally think is open and not worry about. And all of a sudden we had a lot of issues with that. The people weren't open, they weren't working. Even some of the fast the catering and stuff that we were doing weren't open on Memorial Day. So.
Well, thank you for that. I'll certainly be planning to go there, because the last two Spinach meetings I've done at San Francisco were awesome. That takes me to 2024, and we have no host. Okay, so that puts us in an interesting position, but also links into a later point about conference frequency. You know, do we have to think about how we schedule these things? Is every year viable anymore? One of the discussions that's come up, do we move to any other year? So I guess what I'm trying to say there, at the moment, we have no host for 2024. Is it something we pursue, or do we make an active decision to say, well, okay, maybe a hiatus year doing some sort of virtual only operation? I don't know. I put that out to you.
I have had someone contact me. They're an IPT, pest management, whatever that's called, and they're in Vienna right now, and they seem interested in doing it. it was an individual, not the museum itself. So I told him he needs to get the support of the museum and stuff, but he's going to be working there for 3 years. So I don't know if that'll amount to anything or not, but that's the only one so far that's had any offers of doing 2024.
Of course, the challenge with that is it goes back to Europe very quickly, isn't
Say,
it?
say that again, Jules. What did you mean?
It goes back to Europe, doesn't it? Before, I think it was the idea of a number of years in North America, and then to go somewhere else, and then back to North America for a few years. If it goes to Vienna, if it did go to Vienna, that's going back to Europe very quickly, isn't it? Or going overseas to you guys very quickly.
I mean, this is probably something you want to bounce off council if you haven't already. But, you know, I know I harp about this. It's that we put all this responsibility on a local organizing committee, and maybe it's time we need to really change the model. Maybe Spinach, you know, which has a healthy bank account, needs to start taking ownership of the annual meetings. Do an RFP for, I go to the ARCS meeting, you know, Association of Registrars and Collection Specialists, and they do an RFP to different cities, get bids on hotels, spaces, and then partner up with whatever local museums there are. You know, I think there's a lot of ways to skin a cat here, as we know in this group, right? You know, I mean, if we're going to have meetings with 500 people, I think that just puts an you know, enormous burden on people that have day jobs. You know, it's I mean, honestly, I'm shocked you guys at Cal Academy, you know, and I'm happy because I always love coming to your museum and spending time with you guys, but this will be what, the 3rd time you've hosted Spinach? I mean, that's fantastic. I'm glad you guys are doing it, but I'm also aware of how much work it is and how much it takes away from everything else. So, you know, maybe every other year is the way that the society has to go for a few years to figure this out. I mean, it's not a bad thing, you know, that we're growing, right? It's just we're all individuals with day jobs, and you know, it's tough to find another 10 hours a week, you know, when you're planning a meeting.
I think that would be exciting, flipping it around like that, because you know, rather than a museum or an institution being responsible for, you know, laying out the money and trying to get the money back again, having the institution benefit more from big income by Spinach renting space, like for party tours, I don't know, whatever, instead. You know, we sort of take the conference to the museums and pay the museums whatever rate it is for their facilities, you know, rather than the museums having to do it the other way around. And I think, Paul, didn't you have somebody from Austria contact you and see if we wanted to take Spinach, the conference there? Was it Austria?
I had a few folks from like the Chamber of Commerce one was from Austria, which confused me because then I just got this other one from Vienna. And I think there's one from Dubai and there's one from somewhere else, I forget. And so, but they, you know, they weren't from natural history museums or anything like that. So it'd been something like this. And so it's certainly possible way of doing things. It would have to do quite a bit of investigation to see how it all works, or at least I would, because I have no idea.
Yeah, so it's like Spinach, you know, they're bringing Spinach in to boost tourism, to boost, you know, whatever in that area.
But it'll probably mean more work for this committee and the folks on it, because someone's gonna have to act as a local organized committee, even if it's not as much as a regular meeting. It's still gonna be effort.
Yeah, and but then would you have to pay the tourism person? You know, if you've got a professional event coordinator, tourism person there, obviously they want to be paid, but they would be doing stuff.
I mean, hey, didn't Cal Academy do that on your 2nd meeting there? That was, didn't you didn't work with a?
No, for that meeting we did it all ourselves. For the one that was supposed to be this year, we only agreed to do it if we were able to raise enough money to hire someone to help us. now we're not sure whether we'll be able to hire her in 2023 with the amount, with the cost. But I just, while I have the mic open, I think looking at every other year is a great thing to do. And I don't know if we start that here at this meeting or somewhere else. And then also we should maybe talk to Ruth Saylor, because she is paid by AIC, and I know their meeting has a much higher attendance than a spinach meeting, but maybe not that much more on a regular year. But that's her job. Oh, Mariana's saying yes, much more on a regular year, but that's her paid job throughout the year. So that might help ease the whole process if Spinach had an event planning person on staff, if that was even a possibility.
Hey, Jules, you got some hands up.
I've got 4 hands up now. Yeah, I'm trying to bring it in. I've lost track who's first on that one. Sankiri?
Yeah, sorry, just thinking of us as a natural history organization, I think we should be seen to be not encouraging vast amounts of travel every year and the carbon footprint that goes with that. I think we need to be seen to be actually making an effort in the direction of less of the physical things. I mean, even if it was a virtual every second year, or even having regional hubs. So, you know, everybody in Europe went to one place and everybody in the States went to another place, and, you know, we managed to interact. I'm not quite sure how that works. I'm told it can be done, but I think it's really important that we don't look to be trying to get everybody to travel every year. And also it's easier for organizations it's easier to persuade them to let us go if it's not every single year as well.
Some excellent points. I think Mariana, were you next?
Yeah, so my only comment about the whole, you know, Spinach taking over instead of the local organizing committee taking over, I think it would benefit conferences in other places where we have never been. There are countries that just can't afford to have all this money in advance to organize a meeting. It is extremely expensive to organize a meeting. And if we really want to go to other countries in Africa, in South America, in Central America, in Asia, if we really want to do that, then we really need to start thinking about this.
Carol.
Yes, 2 thoughts. I think having a meeting every other year as Zoom meetings, I think this is good. It gives us a chance to branch out and talk to many people worldwide that can't travel. And also, if you do end up taking over, if Spinach takes over the conferences, then you're going to have to get some kind of coordinator in the country to help you organize. I have done it for South America, and it is not easy long distance. So you almost have to hire somebody, or you have to send staff down there to kind of be on the ground, but you need somebody on the ground wherever you go. So keep that in mind, that you might have to get some kind of coordinator, local coordinator for that. And that's it.
Thanks, Carol. Anne?
Along the line of a professional coordinator or so forth, back decades ago, when we had the meeting in St. Louis, we had the meeting with ASC, the Associated Systematic Collections, and they had a professional staff of several people there in Washington that did a lot of the business work for the organization. And so when we had the meeting with them, so in other words, I'm just maybe to hook onto a rich group, but all the money went straight to them, and they did almost all the organization. We were just kind of like an appendage, more or less. But that's another, you know, and I know we can't afford a professional person all the time or a professional office, but it really helped tremendously. And those are the days things were a lot simpler. So anyway, just for what it's worth, that can help, which I'm sure no one disagrees.
Thanks, Anne. Yes, there's some good points coming out here, and there's a lot to move forward with. we'll tie up some of these in a moment, because I think we're covering some interesting ground. I'm just going to point 4 on the agenda, and we're running out of time. So quickly, what I'm going to do is just ask Tim if he wants to talk about 2025, because we have an offer at the Peabody.
Yeah, so just real quickly, 2025, if my arithmetic is correct, is the 40th anniversary of Spinach, and I think I've attended like 38 of those meetings. And it's also the 100th anniversary of the Peabody Museum building on Whitney Avenue. And so it just, it seems like it's a great opportunity to celebrate, you know, really the success of the society. I think the first meeting I attended, I was at the first meeting, and my memory's right, there was 19 people, you know, so now we have 500 people. I think we've done something right. So it's a great time to celebrate. And some of you are probably aware we're involved in a pretty major renovation of the Peabody, the first in 100 years, I think, or 95 years or something. And it's completely exhausting Mariana and I and many other people. But we should be moving into our new facility in January of 2024, I think, is when we would reopen to the public ballpark. And so, you know, it gives us a year to kind of focus on the meeting, or a year and a half to focus on the meeting. So we hosted it in 2012 and really had a blast and learned a lot, and hope to do it again. And Mariana doesn't realize it, but this is why we hired her, so she could plan a meeting, you know. So made the mistake of telling me she was once a wedding planner, you know, and I just stored that away till the right moment. You know? So yeah, hope to see you guys in 2025.
I hope to be there. Thank you, Tim. Well, it puts us in a wonderful position in that sense, because you know, if we have a hiatus here, we've got 2025 to look forward to. That'd be great. Any questions or comments to Tim?
As I always say, you know, I can promise you guys good food, good beer, but you got to provide the program. So, you know.
Are they gonna have some pizza in New Haven this time?
Yeah, this time, yeah, I think you can count on that, Paul.
It was your open bar last time that almost destroyed me. Oh dear. Right, let's not go there. I'll get distracted. The next agenda point I got is past meetings, whether any of the previous meetings wanted to report on anything. But they probably want to just forget it all, don't they? Done that, let's go.
Chicago meeting is done, that's all we need to say.
And so I'm going to move on quickly to the point 4 on here, which is kind of like I've got down as post-COVID. And we've already touched on this in a number of ways. And we haven't got the time to discuss this yet, apart from a few points to come out from you guys, a bit of feedback. And it's quite clear to me with the conversations I've had here previously running up to this, and with other members of the society, we're going to have to do something here. We're going to have to work hard on this. And some of those discussions have come out previously. So where am I going with this? Yeah. So we've got to look at how we can support this conference, its sustainability, and sustainability in all senses, both environmentally and for the society, and how the society interacts with other people. And a few of the points I've got here of how to lower costs so that more people can attend. Do we have a conference planner? That's come up here as well. The hybrid meetings, which we've already been starting to discuss here, you know, how we incorporate that virtual participation, how we better support the local organising committee, and of course conference frequency, which we've just already discussed about the possibility of it going to every other year, which there seems to be a sort of groundswell of. So there's a lot of work actually there, and it strikes me that, well, before I proceed on that point, is there any further comments anyone would like to add to that list?
One thing, maybe not add to the list, but I just think this is a real transformation with Zoom in the way almost every committee meeting I've been to, they all want to meet more and more often. So it seems like there's possibly the things are going to get done, and then it seems like a real transformation that's going on. And so it's a lot of changes, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when we meet, you know, monthly, quarterly, whatever people decide is a good number.
Well, I think, Paul, that takes me neatly into the final point, because we're in the last within the last 10 minutes now, and we've got the follow-on committee meeting of publications coming up soon, and that's exactly the next thing to discuss here about this conference committee, because I think we're changing its remit a little bit, which is good. Well, maybe not necessarily changing the remit, but changing its activity profile, and that's how we're going to meet and how we're going to communicate in the near future, because I think we've got to keep the momentum up here. So I think we do need to meet maybe monthly or 6 weekly, or try something like that. The Slack channel is proving useful in many different ways. Are there any other initiatives, any other things we need to think of on that point? What do you think?
Do it.
Do it.
I mean, yeah, it's you got a healthy agenda here, and we're not going to solve these, even come up with all the questions, to what your agenda is, let alone answers. So, I mean, I'll be in favor of having, a Zoom meeting every 6 weeks or so.
Right, but that's what we're going to do then, because there'll be no point talking about this again in a year's time, because we won't have done much, and it'll leave local organising committees in a pickle in the future. And we don't want that. In fact, we want to support them now. Right, we'll keep that going. To all the other, we do have a conference committee who I've been emailing. If you want to be part of that, it's typical in Spinach fashion. We're always open to people who can come help and get involved and volunteer to do things and show a bit of initiative, or even just to help bounce ideas off. So I've got the attendance list. If you want to be part of this conference committee in a more active way, indicate on that list or send me an email, and we'll try and keep the momentum from this meeting going. And with that, I throw it as an AOB. Any other business?
Jules, I would just put forward the possibility of having this meeting, and I don't know how the other meetings are going this year, but it seems like maybe an hour wasn't quite enough time. So maybe next time we want to schedule an hour and a half.
I agree. We didn't really know what the time is, and I think in previous physical conferences the hour has been enough. But we're in a process of change. We're post-COVID. Well, we're not post-COVID yet. We're in COVID. We don't know what the landscape is ahead. The landscape's going to change, and I think the society as a whole and the way we interact, the whole field community we're part of, yes, we'll need to meet regularly and try and get something positive out of what we will get something positive. We know that because it's a great team of people to work with, very positive, very inspirational. So yeah, we'll just meet regularly, I think. I've got used to this now on Monday nights, It's my life. It's better than watching telly. That's rubbish.
But where's your drink? Come on, Jules.
Well, Joe, I was going to go. It's 4 o'clock for me, definitely. It's 10 o'clock, and I'm normally down the pub at this time. My cycling mates, but Anyway, thank you for that. Unless anyone wants to close to any points, it's been great to see you. It's been great to have you on board, and I look forward to supporting our upcoming conferences in any way I can, as I'm sure the rest of us.